October. We have a very busy day, and we have so far three of the board members. This is Chair Catherine Harrington. I'm joined by Vice Chair Commissioner Pam Treese, Commissioner Jerry Willey. Commissioner Snyder is excused, and I assume Commissioner Fye will join us anytime now. I just checked all my phones, no notification. So as I said, we have a very busy agenda today, so we're going to dive into topic one, where our staff will be presenting applicants for the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Chair Harrington, Board of County Commissioners. My name is Marissa Mantle. I'm the Director of Health and Human Services. I'm pleased to be here with you today, and we are going to do our presentation about the GRAC appointments, but I wanted to take a moment first and introduce to you Rusty Davis. Rusty is our new Solid Waste and Recycling Manager. I say new, but he's actually been here almost 2 months now. He started on August 18th. Rusty joins us. He has a diverse background. He brings with him experience in operations, leadership. He also has a military service background and, of course, waste and recycling management background. So we're very pleased to have him on the team. He's gotten up to speed very quickly. I also do want to take a moment and just acknowledge Erin Stein, who served as the interim manager for 18 months while we were recruiting for this role. So huge appreciation to Erin Stein and all her good leadership work while we waited for Rusty to get here. So I'll turn it over. And after I let Rusty just say hello in a few words, we have Kathy with us today. You've met Kathy Wilson before. She's our senior policy coordinator with Solid Waste and Recycling, and she'll be doing the presentation for our GRAC appointments. Oh, and I did want to note, my apologies. We found an error on the agenda sheet. We are coming back for an action item on November 4th, not November 2nd. So my apologies, that's November 4th, not the 2nd that we would return. With that, I'll let Rusty say hi, and then he'll turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Mara. Good morning, Commissioner Harrington and Board of Commissioners. I'm Rusty Davis. I'm very excited to be here. Washington County has been a terrific place for the 2 months that I've been here. A terrific place to be. So I'm looking forward to working more closely with you all in the future, and just very excited. So thank you.
Great.
All you got to do is say that you were in the Navy and you're good.
I was actually in the Army. I can't make that. I'll make that lie.
All right, Jerry.
You must strike one already and you don't.
No, well, I have 2 more strikes left.
You're a little outnumbered.
With that, I'll we'll get going about the GRAC appointment.
And I was not in the military, so. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Board of Commissioners. As noted, my name is Kathy Folsom. I'm a senior policy coordinator with the Recycling Division. Today, I'm presenting a Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee applicant for our one open public position. I'll provide a quick little overview, talk a little bit about our outreach, and then give a recommendation. So GRAC consists of 10 members. We have a non-voting member who is the Solid Waste and Recycling Division Manager. We have 1 industry member, and then we have 8 members that represent the public. We had 1 vacancy. It's a midterm vacancy that the current member resigned. And so this member will finish out that term and then do a full 4-year term. We did the usual media release for boards and commissions. We also had it prominently displayed on our website. We did some solid waste and recycling social media posts, which this applicant actually found us on our Facebook page. So we were pretty excited that it actually worked. And then community partnerships within the county. So as I noted, we had 1 application. The applicant participated in an interview with staff. And her name is Jennifer Hamelman. She lives in Washington County. she's currently unemployed, but she's done a lot of nonprofit work. She's very interested in the topics that our committee often advise on. And she's excited to start. And so our recommendation would be to appoint Jennifer Hammelman as a public member for a term expiring in March of 2030.
Thank you. I think it just dawned on me that I realized that these sheets are put together by Granicus, the tool. But maybe if the topic sheet could include information about when the committee meets. The
Okay.
GRAC usually meets in the evening, I know from past experience. And the reason that I'm suggesting this information for all of our committees moving forward is we never know which materials a community member is reading to learn more about opportunities. So as much continuous reinforcement as we can do, the better off we'll all be. So at this juncture, commissioners, and I want to note that Commissioner Fye joined us during the midst of that presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the board with regard to this recommendation?
No, I read her bio. She looks good.
Great. You've got a thumbs up from all of us. We'll look forward to seeing you on November 4th, and thank you very much for your work.
Welcome to Washington County.
All righty. We're going to dive right into a large topic then, Jail and Community Corrections Center Capacity and Expansion Project. Welcome to our team. And I want to note that we have a vast array of information in today's packet, including great support documents. So welcome to our team.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Erin Calvert. I'm one of the Assistant County Administrators. Oh, I walked up here without breathing and now I'm out of breath. Sorry. I'm joining Sheriff Caprice Massey and Facilities, Fleets, and Park Director Laurel Brown, and we are pleased to be back with you in work session for the Jail and Community Correction Center Capacity and Expansion Project. We were last before your board in work session on August 12th when Matrix Consulting presented their draft report on the Jail and Community Correction Center Capacity Study. And today's presentation will provide project status, outline project governance, discuss and define key project terms, and then propose an updated timeline and next steps for your consideration. We're looking forward to your board's discussion and direction on the policy questions of whether your board is comfortable with the proposed pacing of the project and what additional information your board might need for staff to proceed with an RFP for a design firm. By way of review, and as you know, the jail capacity study is complete. Since the August 12th work session, at your board's suggestion, Matrix has updated the report to include an appendix of those that were interviewed during the site visit in July of 2024, and then in subsequent interviews as the study proceeded. Matrix has also moved the draft to a final report, which is included in your packet. A couple of things to note. The study did confirm that by the year 2055, Washington County will need additional jail bed and community correction center bed space. And that was based on utilization, population, and other factors that you can find in the report. I'm also pleased to note that the capacity study was completed under budget. Under budget, yay.
Something under budget.
I know. Laurel will spend some time talking about this next part in more detail on subsequent slides, but in terms of the project status, we're really just getting started. The next part of the process will include developing the budget and the schedule. As a reminder, $200,000 was set aside for the study, and then we're wrapping up the invoices and to date have paid just under $85,500. Your board also appropriated $6 million as part of the 5-year capital improvement plan in this current fiscal year. And as Laurel will walk us through the timeline and phases, we anticipate construction not starting any earlier than Q4 of 2028. And we'll get into that in a lot more detail.
But just for point of clarification, I see that in all the documents, when you're referring to fiscal year, you put FY. So I'm assuming that in all other cases where it's a quarter, you mean calendar year.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Great, thanks for confirming.
Yes. The current status of the project really includes a planning focus where we'll be defining the vision and then, of course, building the work plan. In terms of project governance, we have established 2 work groups that are both have governing charters, and those were also included in your packet. As a reminder, we have the Executive Steering Committee, which generally will provide policy direction, political support, strategic guidance through all phases of this project. And this group will make recommendations to the board, sheriff, and the county administrator. Chair Harrington is the current board representative on this committee. We also have established the leadership team work group, which will monitor and contribute to all phases of the project. They'll identify areas where data gathering is required and then utilize the data with subject matter expertise and make recommendations to the Executive Steering Committee. Next, we'd like to introduce the concept of a finance task force. And we understand that this type of group will likely be needed in many or most, if not all, capital improvement projects. And so this one needs to be fleshed out just a little bit more. But the idea is that the task force would help determine a finance strategy and coordinate and advise project timing, of course, in partnership with other committees and in the work that we do with your board. And then finally, we'd have a project management team that would be responsible just to manage that day-to-day execution of planning and construction tasks. And with that, I'm going to turn this slide over to Laurel.
Thank you. So in our last presentation to the board, we had some questions about the term programming, and I thought we would start here by defining that for clarity going forward. The Sheriff's Office often uses the word programming as a noun to describe or to categorize the enrichment and education activities that they are providing to the adults in custody that serve a variety of purposes. When Facilities talks about programming, we are talking about a process which is systematic, a systematic inquiry leading to a statement of requirements to be met by an architectural solution. We usually do this with professionals on board so that they can lead that systematic approach and produce the deliverables that will feed into the future design efforts. It's something that we do for all projects as early in the project as possible because it is so important in defining the scope, the project, or the budget, the schedule.
If I could also add that there's consistency between the Sheriff's Office programming and Community Corrections programming.
Correct.
And I think it's important to add a few more words in that definition because those activities are really aimed at improving safety and reducing recidivism. Or to put it differently, improving safety, positively changing behavior to reduce recidivism.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I did a super deep dive in the Community Corrections Biennial Plan and this document as well. And I think this is a long-term project and there's some knowledge base that we're building along the way. So I've got a lot of things on my brain. Thanks.
Thanks for that clarification. So the project phases, just to clarify the language that we're using around those, this is a nice tidy slide that is put a lot of complex activities into confined buckets. It's not really this linear in real life, but overall we have 3 major phases: the planning phase, the execution phase, and then the oft forgotten operation phase that goes on and on. In the planning phase, that's where we are now. We're very early in that process. We have kind of just left the initiation phase and are moving into concept phase. But again, it's not like you just draw a line and we're done. There's still some things in both areas that we'll do simultaneously.
you can see below each phase just little sketches of the activities that are generally associated with those uh, phases or tasks. I don't know, phases within phase, sub phases. Um, as we move into this concept and vision development, that's where we'll be bringing in consultants to help us with that process.
Can I ask a couple of
Please.
questions here? I think this is a very helpful diagram. And under your leadership, as well as Ms. Angie's leadership, we've had not only facilities planning, right, but other major project multi-year plans. And like with LUT, we also have construction project plans. So it's with all of that that I have the following question. And these are just examples to help illustrate. At what point in either the planning process or the design process is there essentially a 30% design completion, okay, versus say a 50% design completion, right? Because the level of confidence in estimating costs is low and then grows over time as that drawing
Mhm.
completeness comes in. And so then there are the final, quote unquote, final construction estimates and drawings before groundbreakings. So things like that. So I think those of us lay people could use just some example words down here with regard to that level of, I call it design definition for lack of a better term.
Sure.
So just food for thought moving ahead as the stakeholder team expands from just more internal experts such as yourselves to include other folks. This hats off on this, very helpful.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful. Okay.
But I'm also wondering at some point, we have to also have, there's sort of like a line item at the bottom where I'm thinking about design readiness or something like that. But there's also financial context or understanding as well, because before we have construction, we have to have financial resources secured, right? So there too, there's that relationship along the way. And I just want to make sure we're going to be using this diagram for years, that we also have that in there as well.
That's great.
But as a project planning phases go, love the diagram.
Oh, good. Oh, good. And I think a lot of the detail that you're asking about will come in the next slide after this one. So to your point about the finance and the design readiness, the reason we are not always doing that in a linear fashion, there are certain drivers that cause us to stagger them in the way that I've depicted here, just theoretically. In this slide, I will say that that red line kind of shows where we are today, just inching into the concept there.
But with everything we've learned
Yes.
about, for example, our library funding and governance project, we're going to get a lot of mileage out of this diagram. But for our elected colleagues throughout the region, we just have to help them see those phases down here because they won't digest this.
Correct. And I will modify this to add to this. A good example of where we're really leaning on this linear, straightforward timeline is in the Walnut Street seismic upgrades, where funding has not materialized yet. So we just keep doing one step, two step. It's kind of a luxury, although I wish we could expedite that process.
And where we've seen visibility of that is those great summary sheets that you've given us in between CIPs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So we will make those modifications to that slide. So this is really in reality how we usually do projects with built-in overlap, varying degrees. We can slide those levers left and right to meet things like funding, to accommodate the desired project delivery methodology that we choose to use, and to adjust for unpredictable things like contractor performance or any unforeseen obstacle, we can adjust those as needed. And when we're doing the procurement phases, we will build in natural stops so that we have that moment to touch base and say, are we at design readiness? And then here is just kind of a sample timeline for how this project could play out. It's the beginning of a Gantt chart when this is where we would start to see the breakdown under execution phase where it says design there, where we would break out that design into 30, 50, 90% drawings. In this case, I did not show a lot of overlap between construction and design. Sometimes there is, or rather execution and planning. Sometimes there is. We could bring that execution phase forward if we had confidence in a funding model. So there's a lot of wiggle in this timeline.
I have a question about the slides. You call out the public safety local option levy starting in Q2 or the end of Q2 for 26. But we have a levy that goes up to that point as well. So, and then the same question I'm asking about the ESPD level levy. Can you remind me when the start date for is this the expiration date of the current levy?
Yep.
At the end.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So
We're in the
So
middle
we've
of
got-
the cycle of ESPD right now.
the levy has not been voted on yet, so that's still a little question mark. And then the other is a definite. Okay, I just want to.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
really
all
put
that
it on there just for timing as
I
we think
understand-
about
I
funding.
understand
Yeah,
why.
So you had the periods of time and
So we don't lose sight
Calling that
that the operation, even, it's one thing you, under operation phase, it says turnover and operation. We also have expanded workforce needs.
That's correct.
That's correct. So that's that reinforcing point that we talked about when we went over the BCC focus table.
I'm really glad that you asked that question because I did forget to mention that the project funding TBD on that on this slide is that placeholder for adding the context for project funding, and once we start filling that in, it will shift everything that comes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So with that, I will turn it over to Sheriff Massey to walk through our very next.
I'm super excited to have the shortest portion of a presentation for once because
Oh,
I
just
feel like, oh no,
presentation, baby.
I'm here for the questions. Oh, I'm here to respond to the questions. All right, so I really just wanted to touch a bit on what our priorities are from the sheriff's office as it relates to this next portion, which is, getting in a consultant-led process, preparing solicitation for planning and design professionals who are going to come in and capture my and our guiding principles, which as a reminder, are trauma-informed spaces, accommodating our community's greatest needs at this time, and will be in the future, which is behavioral health, substance use disorder, adult and custody services, also with a lens on our staff and providing spaces where they are able to build resiliency and serve our adults in custody in a way that leaves them healthy and well in addition. And so as we're doing that, we will engage those steering committees and our expanded work groups. We will be working to identify space requirements that will support these desired services. And we understand that there are going to naturally be obstacles and limitations based off of site restrictions, zoning rules, funding limits. And our goal will be to produce conceptual designs and preliminary cost estimates. Now, on the front end, that's also going to require that I do some field trips and things like that to identify those best practices nationally and internationally. I'm not going out of the country to look at other jails. However, I have been engaged in doing a great deal of research on what is working elsewhere that we might be able to bring into Washington County to ensure that we are providing services that are in best practices for AIC and staff resiliency and support. Our stakeholders throughout our community will be critical to this effort. And I do just want to bring back a reminder to the previous presentation that while I understand that the recommendations in the final report from Matrix are what they are, we don't want to underestimate based off those recommendations in a way that our predecessors did when this jail was designed. And so while they have the numbers in the high 800s, we anticipate that our bed space usage and needs will be around 1,000 through 2055. And so I just want to bring that back as a reminder that while that is their recommendation, we have been through the realities of underestimating the recommendations. And then I just want you to also know that part of my motivation throughout this entire process is while we are realistic with the timelines, I want to make sure that we don't lose momentum on this critical resource for our community.
Okay, so that just brings us back to the discussion to listen to your board's feedback on whether you're comfortable with the proposed pacing of the project and what other information you might need to proceed with an RFP and next steps.
Who would like to start?
I will. So this is a great snapshot because I needed to see the timelining and all of this stuff. But for me, the budgeting and finance is always the critical part to this. So there's not much talked about here. Just says we're going to do this. So does that mean we're going to go into a 30% design phase and then kind of hit the pause button and say, can we afford this? You know, what point in time and how are we going to afford this? Because it's probably going to be expensive. I assume that you've got some kind of a number way out there that says it might be this.
I don't have that number here at this table right now, so I would want to come back with that if it's desired. I don't think those decisions have been firmed up, but it seems to me that that'll be a simultaneous process where we have the $6 million to start doing those early phases, and while we're doing that, creating those early estimates and preparing a financing plan.
Yeah, I guess where I was going was just consistent with every other capital project we have. We incorporated into some sort of a funding stream for all of these projects so that we look out and say in 2028 or whatever, we know that we're going to need to find some money to fund this project. We'll do it before 28. So yeah, that's the part that I look at most. I mean, I'm excited about this project, certainly something we need, but the funding part of it will have to start sooner than later.
It's an incredibly important piece of the puzzle, which is why we're proposing the finance task force so that we can get the right people to focus on that activity. You will see these preliminary numbers in the CIP this year. It goes out through 31, I think, and so you'll see those on there as a little.
Will there be a number there, or will there just be an asterisk?
There will be a number.
Okay.
Yeah, there will not be a funding source. That would surprise me.
No, just
there will be an expense.
the CIP is fine.
Well, we will have some context, not a decision, but we will have some funding context.
So just expanding on the funding context, it will need to be capital and operational funding, both.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to remind the board of the revenue study that we are undertaking. So both consideration of the jail, courthouse this fall, winter, the board will hear an update on the medical examiner needs, which is both capital and some operational. So that will be coming forward. So this project is not occurring just in a vacuum of our One Washington County context. And that's the approach that we're taking moving forward, both with capital and operational needs.
Yeah, I kind of figured that there would be, I mean, we're very good at planning and scheduling that out. I was just wondering, we didn't see that very clearly identified here, so I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Fye or Commissioner Treese?
Sure, I'll go next. Sure. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Sheriff, I noticed your pink uniform. It's always good to see that. To answer the first question, I'm comfortable supporting the first question. And I think you provided a lot of information. In my own preparation, I think I did sort of my own homework. Did go back and looked at the CAP process and how we started that in 2020 when I joined. And so I think that's the parallel process that I went, because I was like, well, where's the full picture? When are we going to talk about the financing part of this? Is what I was thinking as well, which led me to go back to that CAP project and say, well, how did that come about? So I think you're on the right track. I think we're pacing it the right way, and look forward to getting that more context about the finance piece. And I do like the caveat or the more explanation the chair offered around public safety and expanding that definition. I think it's important to be grounded why we're doing this and the purpose of it. And then the slide you presented, Sheriff, the thing that caught my attention, and I was hoping you would provide more content, and I didn't hear that content, so I'll ask, is the consultant-led process. You know, I firmly believe people who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. I don't think you're not saying that, but call out the consultant-led sort of meant to me that the people who are closest to this problem aren't going to be part of the process. And I don't think that's what you're saying. So is the staff, the sheriff, I want some leadership within the staff dictating and sort of guiding this consultant, not consultant telling us how to design the solution to our problem. I feel like you have a really great expertise within the sheriff's office and great leadership. And so I want to make sure this consultant is by us, for us type of thing.
No, I really appreciate that. And you're spot on. A consultant-led is simply that we would bring someone in who has national, potentially international experience with best practices, and then they will take what is most important to us and our community and what we are seeing in our community to help us identify cost and design around our priorities. And so our sheriff's office staff, myself, and the rest of us will be the loudest voices in the room, and we can't possibly know everything. And so having a subject matter expert that can bring in insights from around the world will be super beneficial for us to help us grow and evolve in ways we don't even know that we need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fye. Commissioner Treese.
And finishing up that, I think it's always important to have those the industry-led standards that provide us the information there. I am on board. It's a great presentation. I'm going to ask, I have a request though, and that is that I was thinking when the chair mentioned we need to remember that there's members of the public that are looking at this and digesting this as well. And I would ask, we do on the second slide under current status, there is a little past overview of the jail capacity study. I know it was there, but I think a reminder slide in here about the needs, where we are today, what we project. And I'm not asking for a lot of bullets. I just, a need statement, I think is important as we keep grounding ourselves to that and we ground the public to that as we think in the future about how we're going to fund this. I think we need to keep that perspective in mind. This is an update. It's a great update. But again, I just think that this is the problem.
Yeah, we can definitely. So Commissioner Treese, you and I are thinking along the same lines. So to your first question, I'm comfortable with the pacing, but we need a step between 1 and 2. I have full confidence in the team lead sitting in front of us about your moving forward with the RFP to hire an architect and engineering firm. That's not why I need another step. It's because of the scope of this project and the fact that I've been on the project team, specifically the executive steering committee to date, and I've seen some things play out already. So I do have 2 specific questions that we should just go over offline. Don't need to take more time today. The document is improved and I got a lot out of it. But I am a strange animal compared to most in that I read it and worked, and I read the draft too, but I reread every single page of this final version. And you can see I learned a lot. Those are the green tags you see here. Very few people who are on the committees or elected officials, mayors, city councilors are ever going to read that. So we're going to need to produce a summary doc. We're also going to need to produce some, I was hoping 2 to 4 pagers, both on the Community Correction Center and the jail, just the basics. But, you know, to illustrate my point, I wrote down a list of service areas. These are Catherine service areas that are provided in a jail. And I came up with 17 of them. There's no easy list to find in this document, okay? But it's all those service areas are needed. And so it's not just pods, right? So we're going to need some easy to digest fundamental documents. I also think that this board is going to need to take legislative action to memorialize a need statement, okay, and knowns around that, as well as goals for the planning process. Another way to put it is there are certain sideboards. For example, our current jail operates with a best practice model of having our jail service deputies embedded, my words, because sheriff lingo doesn't work for me, sorry, embedded with the adults in custody, okay? Versus having other models where they're behind the glass, 1 degree removed. We don't want to take a step backwards in terms of reducing safety and reducing, negatively impacting the curve on reduced recidivism. Okay, so that is a direction that the board needs to affirm and ensure is set for this project. So Um, we have some other knowns, for example. We're not living in a day where there is land freely available. We are not in the ideal where we can go buy a big chunk of land and start from scratch. Okay, we're going to have to leverage the heck out of the super block that we have. Okay, so there, the current complex, we have the jail, we have the law enforcement center with a bunch of office space. We have the other training rooms, other offices, permitting, things like that, concealed gun permitting, and 2 courtrooms. So we're going to have to put some sideboards in terms of what this project is striving for. I think that will help this large project in the future.
Yeah, I was going to ask the question about footprint. Sorry, about
Yeah.
we have enough space there.
Yeah, well, and
But
it
it's
may
not big
cause
enough
us to
early.
have to move some of the sculpture garden stuff that's in the front of the building, right? You know, different levels of creativity still need to be thought through. But the known is we don't have some chunk of land sitting somewhere and we don't have the luxury. So the other thing that I think will help us enormously is having an illustration of the touch points between the executive and leadership teams and the board, so that we're able to illustrate with those two where they're working with the project team to review different details that I know we don't want to be living and breathing, but we do need to make sure there are milestones where, yes, we're affirming different parameters so that those doors close behind us so that you all can successfully move to the later phases. You deserve that, and we need to give you that. So,
This is a 50-year life project, at least I'm guessing. So
yeah,
long-term vision is really important.
it is. Yeah, yeah. So that's why I'd like to spend some time with you going over some of this and then have you come back to the board and work session so that the 5 of us understand it and that we can then turn around and, I don't know, you know, adopt or affirm the project plan, something along those lines, so that our fellow community stakeholders, everybody, you know, everyone, every resident of Washington County has a vested interest in their safety. And this project with the jail and community corrections is part of the public safety and justice infrastructure, if I can call it that, to deliver on that core county responsibility. And I know this board wants to start it off on a really rock solid footing with the project plan for future year success.
So I think,
So colleagues, do you have any questions with regard to my thoughts?
yes, thank you. In regard to your thought, it also wraps around to me an awareness in the community by making that statement. Is that part of the rationale here too, is to build the awareness around the need for this?
It will evolve. I don't need to see a big project plan.
Communication.
No,
that's not it.
But we have to take some concerted steps so that we're clear that we're fully behind this project with a set of known parameters and build on that.
And the reason I mentioned it is I'm thinking about all of the many levy presentations that we've been through, and every single one that I've attended that with the public safety, there's the comment about the second largest capacity in the state. And so I think that that's an awareness building piece as well. So.
Yep. Yep. So I know that some time is needed to do that, but I'll just put a stake in the ground that no later than January, we'd like to come back or have a goal for the board to act no later than early January. I'm trying to make a reasonable proposal here.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
And we may exceed our goal, but it will help us moving forward to have this foundation and to act and move from there. You could start drafting your RFP. That's not a problem for me at all.
Great.
But I think you deserve that base.
Yeah, that's a really helpful timeline, and we will work with Grace to get something scheduled so that we can sit down with you as well.
Sorry for a second.
Oh, yeah.
You're a little ahead of me.
Oh,
We
sorry.
need to reaffirm that with the board.
Sorry.
Okay, terrific.
Okay.
So I owe you more time.
Thank you.
With pleasure. And just so I'm being fully transparent, Melissa Laird of the local Public Safety Coordinating Council, and we also know her through Budget Committee volunteering. She and I each have an affinity for details and understanding large scope. Yes, we were both at Intel in management positions. So I have reached out to her to sit down with her and compare notes. I think that will be a good learning experience and go from there. So I just wanted everybody to know that she and I are playing phone tag in that regard. So
Thank you so much
great.
for your time.
Thank you very much, team. And look at that. We're under time. Boy, I never imagined that. So at this juncture, we're going to take a 10-minute break and do our management. Would you be prepared to start the exec session at 10 o'clock?
Thank you for that question, Chair. We are currently contacting staff, so let's plan for a 10-minute break, and then I'll advise the board.
We could split the difference. It's like 10:05.
Sure, 10:05 sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks.
So towards that end, we do have multiple exec sessions coming up, and they're all actually under the same proviso. I will go through and do the, sorry, I got distracted, do the executive session opening and closing for each. So I'm going to start with the first one. Do we have a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub D for the purposes of discussing labor negotiations?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. So before I gavel us in for that and we go on break till 5:10, I also want to note that we're hoping to adjourn for lunch break by noon and have a 1-hour lunch break and reconvene no later than 1 p.m. for topic number 6. All right, so we're hereby pausing the work session for a break, and we'll be returning to multiple executive sessions. Thank you.